At the end of Smoking in the Boys' Room, Tommy or Nikki pulls my silly wig off, and I do this, and I wiggle my ears. We were just goofing around backstage, in between takes, and I just did that for fun. And Mick goes, "Oh, we got to put that in the video."
Michael, good to see you again. I saw you. I think I met you for the first time a few months ago at the Monroe Comic Con. We chatted for a few minutes. Now you're coming back. You're going to be at the Howell Theater coming up on September 6th. Q&A, autograph signing, and then The Hills Have Eyes. Lots of things happening out there that day.
No, that's correct. Yeah, it's been 50 years since Wes and I since we did Hills, which seems a little wrong, but hey, it is what it is. It should be a lot of fun because the fans haven't seen a projected version of Hills in the theater for quite a while. I think we did one at a convention a couple years ago, but aside from that, it'll be nice to have a bag of popcorn and I go, yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, right. So, how many? This is coming up on your busy time, I'd imagine, right? Do you do a lot of conventions and Q&As and all sorts of stuff traveling all around the country?
Well, yeah, there is a season. People in our genre, sports athletes do it too. But yeah, the convention circuit is very critical to a lot of industries, and that includes ours, especially. COVID didn't help very much as far as production, but that's ancient history. Yeah, right. But yeah, we wind up at airports a lot. I was put it that way. Yeah, now is just started the busy season. Between now and November, I'll be at a lot of airports.
Yeah. I saw the list of credits. I mean, we talked about this last time I saw you, but how many movies have you been in all told?
Oh, I stopped counting years ago. I, I really couldn't say. Oh, if you add, TV episodes and music videos and film, probably 100, I imagine.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, and speaking of
Yeah,
music,
well, it sounds cool, but see, I've been doing this for 50
well,
years, so you divide that by 50, see.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the movies that you've been in, Weird Science, of course, the Rob Zombie movies, which I love. What's it like working for Rob Zombie?
Well, he's a very intelligent guy, easy to get along with. He's a big horror fan. He's got a lot of the Universal Monster original props at his home. He's easy to work with. There's well, if you go on YouTube, you click on something and artificial AI will go, oh, you like that? We'll send you some more of the same stuff. So bottom line is you can see these little short clips where they go, there's an actor, it's well known, and they always kind of, do the lead in like, the 10 things, the 10 actors that this person hated, or, didn't really hate them, just, maybe had a disagreement with. But the bottom line is we work in an industry where we tell stories, and you want to show up prepared, and you want to work together as a team. That's pretty much how most actors and people in our field behave. It's really I would say, in just a small project, you could have 100 to 150 people involved in the projects, including post production. So it really is a team effort. That's what I'm trying to make an impression here with. So working with Rob it was a treat. Easy going. He didn't take advantage of his talent. He was. We did have one incident though, one night when Sid Haig and I were working on the Lords of Salem. There was about 3 pages of the script that we never filmed for the following reason. Okay, the Magnus brothers, which is Sid Haig and I, were actually butchers in this little town where they have the witches, and there was a footage where the British, the guys in the British hats show up and they grab the witches, they arrest them, they take them up to the hillside, and they're setting them on fire and doing God knows what with them. And we're filming at night, and that took hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and the girls are pretty cold. My point is that they had just finished a lot of really tough footage. Now, when you're watching the movie, you're wondering why are they doing this to the witches? Well, there's the scene where the British officers come to our house, which is Sid Hagen and mine, and they ask us to help them. And we're butchers, so they want us to butcher the witches, after they set them on fire, I suppose. And so there's some dialogue where, it's kind of stupid dialogue where we talk about, yeah, I love, munching on witch flesh, whatever. My We never shot those scenes because they explain why they're arresting the witches in the first place. So later that evening, um, we are at the bonfire where the witches have been arrested, and the British constables are there, and Sid Haig and I are also there, and they're going to officially read the arrest warrant. So imagine this. We're talking about a Shakespearean actor that won Oscars and all kinds of awards over the years for being very talented and professional. And he holds up the arrest warrant, and here's what we hear. Rob, can you make the torches and the fire a little brighter, please? I don't have enough light to read the arrest warrant. And I look at Sid Haig and he goes, well, we're effed. And I go, yeah, I know. So Rob says, all right, cut. And they have a conversation. We all go back to our trailers. We're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, there's a knock on my door, and Rob Zombie walks in, and he goes, oh, man, I'm so sorry. He says, if I knew that they couldn't read the arrest warrant, I would have bought them glasses to fit their prescription and put them in a frame that looked period piece at my own expense, not the company's expense. And I looked at Rob Zombie and I go, Rob, that's a big negative. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, first of all, if they couldn't read the arrest warrant, maybe they should have read the script and memorized their dialogue. Right. Because the dialogue of what they were supposedly reading off of the arrest warrant was written on the pages of for the scene in the script. Now, if you have trouble memorizing, there's a lot of ways to fix that. A lot of well-known actors that did incredible work have cue cards. Sometimes they can put a little wire in your ear, a little microphone, and they can feed you your lines. There's ways to do it, but you don't wait until you're in production. Why? Because every minute costs you hundreds or thousands of dollars. That's why. And these people knew better, in my opinion, because they've been doing this forever. So so technically they were in violation. They didn't fulfill their contract. So what happened was the whole scene where we talked to the British guys and we explained, and they explained to us, and we agreed why it's so important to do damage to these wonderful witches. The audience would go, oh wow, okay, now I see the threat, now I understand what they're dealing with. It's called continue the storyline. Well, long story short, I'm very verbose on occasionally, and maybe I'm doing it now, but Rob didn't throw his fit. He was totally calm and cool, and just moved on. And when the movie came out, we looked at it and I go, wow, there's a big hole in the plot. But sometimes it happens.
Yeah, we were talking about this when I met you, that is my least favorite Rob Zombie movie, because I'm like, what is going on here? And not that I'm like a film critic or I'm not like, diving into things, but I love his movies. And I saw that one in the theater the day it came out. I don't think it was in the theater very long. And that's how dedicated I am. And I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, me too. But Rejects was totally different.
Yes. Yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, great movies. Love those movies.
Yes, one requires a little more understanding than the other one. Well, they're both kind of, they can be tough to watch.
I liked him. Over your career, do you have a few movies that are like the pinnacle of your career that you think watching them that if you were to say this is my career in a nutshell, here's these movies.
Well, I would say some of the performances that I accomplished and presented on the screen that I'm most proud of, I would say there's a little film with Eddie Furlong. It's called Below Zero. I recommend that. And the emotional depth that I had to bring to the character um, correlated with personal situation that is, I'm not going to explain, but sometimes an actor gets a role and you have to dig deep. And sometimes what you're digging through flesh that you have not personally experienced, and sometimes it is something you have had experienced. But very proud of that role. Also in um, well, in the X-Files season 3, uh, Revelations, where they think I'm the bad guy and I wind up being a guardian angel and sacrifice to save the boy. That's a really good role. Motley Crue, smoking in the boys' room just for fun and silly, and creating a wacky character that's just delightful. That was a lot of fun. I'm proud of that. Cuckoo's Nest was my second day as an actor, my second job. I worked 127 days, 6 days a week at Oregon State Hospital, and I learned so much. I mean, my makeup artist that did my lobotomy scars was Fred Phillips. His father started the makeup artists union. Fred Phillips designed Leonard Nimoy's ears for Spock. The people that were doing our sound on Cuckoo's Nest were working on the Mutiny on the Bounty. I mean, it was handpicked. I mean, so I had an opportunity to understand. And Milos Forman gave me a book on cinematography. Most actors don't know what a lens does, really. I do. I'm a photographer, and I devoured that book he gave me. He gave me the best advice ever as far as working in film. And because I asked him, I said, this is all new to me. I had a minor in art history in college, but uh, I said, what are some things I need to know? Well, there's the technical aspects as to, the wide shot, the close-ups, et cetera, and how to hit your mark and how to project your voice so the sound guy can get a good level, all that stuff. Well, there's also the frame. So right now I'm right in the middle of the frame. Now if I move over here, you see it changes the dynamics.
Mhm.
Uh, so composition is what I'm talking about. I studied still photography for years just because it helps you stay within that realm of creativity. So what Milos did was he was puffing on his pipe and he goes, "Okay, come over here." And we had Panavision cameras, which are wonderful, and celluloid film, the old school stuff. Our lighting was carbon arc light from, especially for the exteriors. That was very interesting. So he had me look through the camera, through the lens, and I'm looking in, and I rack focus a little bit, zoom in and zoom out. And I'm kind of going, wow, this is what they see me doing, and now I'm getting an idea of uh, what I need to present, for the scene. And here's what he told me. He says, "I want you to have a love affair with the glass." And the glass, of course, is the lens. And then he handed me this big old book, and I chewed on that puppy for a long time. So very, very grateful to George Powell, who gave me an opportunity to uh, end up talking to you, but also for my second day as an actor being on a film that won all the Oscars. And see, what George Pell did was, I wrote a memoir. It's on Amazon. Just punch in my name or title. It's all good. And I tell this story. Um, I had a friend who his house. I know I'm going around talking in circles. That's just too bad. Uh, I had a buddy whose house burnt down in Washington State, and the insurance company paid for the Lincoln logs. He had a log home, so he had the foundation, he had all the Lincoln logs and the materials for the roof. He couldn't afford anybody to help him, drill and stack up this and make this house before the rains came. Well, he gave me a call. I stuck out my thumb in Venice Beach and got hitched a ride in a VW bus with a bunch of hippies, and we made it all the way up to this is 1970. Made it all the way up to Washington State, and picked up a buddy of mine in Berkeley. And in 6 weeks, we were putting the roof on. So I'm helping a buddy, and I'm going, wow, I love it up here. Next thing I know, um, uh, I wind up going back to California to get my things because I wanted to homestead in Alaska. Well, when I went back to Santa Monica, I bumped into a gentleman at a little at an art shop in Venice Beach. His name was George Powell. He said he put his hands up like this, like a frame hand. Are you an actor? And I go, no, man, I'm not an actor. What's up? And he goes, well, I'm making a movie, and you look like the character. And I go, no way. And he says, yeah. And he handed me a business card. And then I said, wow, you're really George Powell? I says, I know about all your old movies and War of the Worlds and where you came from and why your work's important and big fan. He said, just call my office. And I worked one day on a movie called Doc Savage, and George is kind enough to write the letter to the Screen Actors Guild because if you don't have a job, you can't get in the guild. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Right.
And he gave me a 2-day guarantee because the Taft-Hartley Act, labor law, says on day two on a union job, you can't be you have to join the union. So, and he even paid my dues, which is like $400. And so now I have a SAG card and a plane ticket and did Cuckoo's Nest, and then um, it saved my life basically. It gave me a career.
Yeah.
So let's see what else. Probably well, there's say Below Zero, Cuckoo's Nest, Hills Have Eyes, Weird Science, of course,
Yeah.
because of being able to continue the comedy. Um, and I've always had a little flair for being kind of silly on occasion. So at the end of Smoking in the Boys' Room, when I think it's Tommy or Nikki, I forget which one it is, reaches through the portal and pulls my silly wig off, and I do this, and I wiggle my ears. We were just goofing around backstage, in between takes, and I just did that for fun. And um, Mick goes, "Oh, we got to put that in the video." So we did. It's at the very end, right? Well, it was real popular on MTV for quite a while, and then one day people were watching it, and there was no ear wiggle, and people got on the phone and complained to such a degree that somebody who worked at MTV had to, edit back in the ear wiggle. And I thought that, somebody was, I says, yeah, that didn't really happen. I go, no, it really did happen. And then the guy that actually did the editing was doing the sound for another movie I'd worked on years later. And he said, I knew you were coming in today, so I made a copy of my worksheet the day I had to put your ear wiggle back in the Motley Crue video. And I go, well, I says, BS, man. No, that didn't happen. I look at it, and it had a whole list of everything he had to do that day. And toward the bottom of the page, it said, Motley Crue, Smoking in the Boys' Room, ear wiggle, reinsert 4 seconds.
That's great.
So, you can be proud of something that gets you an Oscar, and you did many scenes, or you can make people laugh in 4 seconds.
That's funny. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that video now, man. That was when I was a kid. Wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, it's great talking to you. September 6th at the Howell Theater Q&A. I got your signing at 4:30, Q&A at 6 o'clock, and the movie at 7. This is going to be so much fun. And I know a lot of people want to get out there and press the flesh with you. And have a great Halloween and fall season.
Oh, we will. Thank you very much. And again, it's so nice to work with the um, preservation for our legacy, which is, I mean, the Howell Theater is beautiful.
Yeah.
And when I think of the independent theaters and the mom and pop theaters, God bless y'all for keeping it going. And if you want to get that delightful, warm, and fuzzy feeling about movies, watch Joe Dante's film Matinee, because that's right up the same alley. And uh, just make sure you got plenty of popcorn, brother. We'll see you soon.